So the OnePlus 6 was just announced hours ago, and what's that? No, I don't have one. They didn't send me one. They didn't invite me to their event. Above and beyond all the specs, all the goodness, all the niceness that is the OnePlus 6, who is this phone really for? Hey there, friends on YouTube. My name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. This is your first time here. Thanks for stopping by. If you've been here before, then thanks for coming back. I really do appreciate your eyeballs on my channel. So, this OnePlus 6. Let's take a look first at the specs so we kind of know what we're talking about, and then we'll get into some other stuff. Let's start with the most important feature, the price. There was a lot of speculation that the OnePlus 6 was going to jump up in price. Some people were saying like $800 maybe, but thankfully that is not the case here. The OnePlus 6 is going to come in 3 configurations. The bottom tier model, 6 gigs of RAM, 64 gigabytes of storage space. Then we jump up to 8 gigs of RAM and 128. That's $579. And then 8 gigs and 256, and that's $629. So each tier jumps up by $50. All those prices are in American US currency. Let's talk about the specs. Okay, we got to get through this. It's a 6.2-inch 2280 by 1080 screen. It's got the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 with up to 8 gigabytes, as I said. It has a 3300 milliamp hour battery, but typically the OnePlus, since it has a 1080p screen, is not sucking the juice quite as much. So the 3300 milliamp hour battery should be good for all day usage. We should just have to see when we get our hands on it. Now let's talk about the cameras. We got dual cameras on the back in a up and down configuration. One is 16 megapixels f1.7 and another is 20 megapixels f1.7, and the 16 megapixel is probably the one that has the optical image stabilization. Not sure. We've got advanced HDR, it says. 480 frames per second slow-mo, which is probably in 1080p, maybe 720, but that's a lot of frames per second for slow-mo. It's got a 16 megapixel front-facing camera with portrait mode, rear-mounted fingerprint scanner that's more of a pill than a circle this time, face unlock that is like that, Android 8.1 Oreo with Oxygen OS, USB-C, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, midnight black, mirror black, silk white. Those are the colors that you can get. And of course, there's a notch. Now, the midnight black is kind of a matte black finish, maybe a sort of sandblasted glass look to it. The mirror black is more shiny and blingy, I guess. The silk white is sort of an opalescent color. It has pink accents, the metal rim around the phone, and in other places pink accents. That one's not going to be available for purchase until June 5th, but the midnight black and the mirror black are coming out on May 22nd, and maybe you can order it online right now. I don't know. I saw a buy now button when I went to check out the site. So now we've got through the specs, and it looks like it's going to be a pretty darn good phone. But the question that I have is, this is the 5th iteration of OnePlus phones. And so far, they have sold their phones in the US via their website, which is fine. 25% of their online business comes from the US, so that's a pretty good number. However, OnePlus makes great phones with very few compromises compared to the much more expensive flagship phones. It only has that 1080p screen, and it's got no IP rating for water resistance, although it says you can drop it in a puddle. No doubt OnePlus makes great phones, but again, my question from the beginning, who are they for? They have a very small market share in the US, and without a retail presence whatsoever, the phone is basically reserved for the more rabid, in-the-know smartphone aficionados. Will the OnePlus 6 change anything? It's a great-looking phone. It has all the specs in all the right places. It's got a headphone jack. It's doing all the stuff that it needs to do. However, my question is OnePlus really ever going to be a contender for a big chunk of the US market when they have no retail presence? They announced that they were going to do some pop-up stores all over the place, and I looked at the map of their pop-up stores, and I'll show it to you right here. A bunch of pop-up stores in Asia and New York and San Francisco. So that's great for people in New York and San Francisco. However, are regular people buying the OnePlus phones? That's what I want to know. That's what I'm not quite sure of. You know, in the tech world, we get all excited about a OnePlus launch, just like we get excited about other launches. And the OnePlus is kind of the darling of the smartphone world and has been for several years. But outside of that bubble, does anybody really care that this phone exists? You tell me what you think down in the comments. I'm curious. I really want to know. I'll be getting my hands on one of these things one of these days soon, and I'll go ahead and do a full review and all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, let me know what you think about that question down in the comments. Let me know what other kind of questions you have. Let's engage in some spirited discussion. Thank you so much for being here. Again, if it was your first time here, I appreciate you stopping by. If you've made it to this point in the video, maybe you want to like the video, subscribe, do the things that people do, because that's always helpful to everyone involved. And if you've been here before, you know that I love you and you keep coming back, and that means a lot to me. Once again, my name is Jason, sometimes known as the JTL. This is Painfully Honest Tech. Tech so honest it hurts. Until the next time, I'm out.